Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on a really dynamic sector within medtech, neurovascular catheters.
That's right. We've got this new market report just landed, gives us a great snapshot of, where things are in 2025.
And maybe more importantly, where this whole market seems to be heading.
Exactly. So our goal here in this deep dive is really to pull out the key insights.
Yeah.
We want to give you a clear, concise understanding of the market size now. And, well, its potential, what's driving it, where are the opportunities, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, let's jump right in then. The headline figure that really grabbed my attention was the projected size.
Yeah, it's significant. The report forecasts the global market
Yeah.
at USD 240.0 million for 2025.
$4 billion.
Yep. But like you said, it's the growth trajectory that's really compelling.
Absolutely. By 2033, it's expected to hit what, USD 618.4 million? That's huge growth.
It really is, almost doubling. And that's underpinned by a CAGR, a compound annual growth rate of 7.60% starting from 2025.
So yeah, consistent, pretty robust growth ahead.
And it's not just happening in a vacuum,
Yeah,
right? There are some powerful forces driving this demand.
Right. The report highlights a few key things. The big one seems to be the rise in neurovascular diseases globally.
That's the primary driver, yeah. Things like stroke, brain aneurysms. Sadly, they're becoming more common.
And that directly feeds the need for these catheters used in treatment.
Precisely. More cases mean more demand for effective treatments. And there's also this definite trend towards minimally invasive procedures.
Ah, yes, over traditional surgery. People prefer that approach generally.
They do, and neurovascular catheters are, well, they're essential for a lot of these less invasive techniques.
Maybe just quickly, for listeners not deep in the weeds here, why are these minimally invasive options so advantageous in, say, stroke cases?
Sure. So using catheters usually means smaller incisions, sometimes just a puncture. That often leads to faster recovery times,
Okay.
less pain, and importantly, a lower risk of complications compared to, open brain surgery.
Makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And it's not just need and preference driving things. The technology itself keeps getting better.
Right. The report mentioned tech advancements, too.
Yeah, another major driver.
Yeah.
The catheters are becoming more sophisticated.
How so? What kind of improvements are we talking about?
Well, think about navigating those incredibly complex, tiny blood vessels in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting better at that.
Okay.
Better imaging integration, so doctors can see more clearly where they are and what they're doing. And more precise ways to deliver treatments, like placing coils in an aneurysm.
So the tools themselves are just becoming more effective and safer.
Increasingly so, yeah. Making them more valuable tools for clinicians.
It sounds like a very positive picture overall, but are there any, challenges, roadblocks?
Yes, definitely. It's important to see both sides. The report flags the high cost as a significant restraint.
Okay, costs, the catheters themselves and the procedures.
Both, yeah. These are complex, high-tech medical devices.
Yeah.
Manufacturing them isn't cheap, requires specialized expertise.
Mm.
That all adds up.
That figures. Cutting-edge tech usually comes at a premium, doesn't it? What else?
The other main hurdle is the regulatory environment. It's pretty stringent for medical devices, especially those used in critical areas like the brain.
Right. Getting approvals can be complex.
Exactly. Complex, sometimes lengthy approval processes can, slow down the introduction of new, innovative products to the market.
Okay, so strong drivers, but also real challenges around cost and regulation. Got it. Now, looking ahead, what about emerging trends? What's new and exciting?
Well, one really interesting area is innovation in the materials themselves. There's this growing trend towards biodegradable catheters.
Biodegradable, so they dissolve over time.
That's the idea. Designed to do their job and then be safely absorbed by the body. Could potentially eliminate the need for a second procedure just to remove the device.
Wow, that sounds like a potential game changer for patients. Less intervention overall.
It really could be. Reduced need for follow-ups, potentially better long-term outcomes. It's a significant leap if it becomes widespread.
The report also mentioned drug-coated catheters.
Yes, another exciting development. These catheters can deliver medication precisely where it's needed.
Like right at the site of the problem.
Exactly. Maybe releasing drugs to prevent blood clots forming after a procedure, or reducing inflammation directly at the treatment zone. Very targeted.
Very clever. Okay, and what about broader tech trends like AI and robotics? Are they making their way into this field too?
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. The integration of AI and robotics is definitely an emerging trend here.
How so? How would AI help with a catheter procedure?
Well, AI could help analyze complex medical images, assist doctors with diagnosis, maybe even help plan the optimal path for the catheter.
Okay, decision support.
And robotics.
Robotics could offer enhanced precision and control during the actual procedure, maybe finer movements than the human hand alone can achieve.
So this mix of AI, robotics, and advanced catheters,
Yeah.
that sounds like it could really reshape things.
It likely will, yeah. Fundamentally change how these interventions are performed. Okay, this is fascinating now. Let's get into the geography. Where is this market biggest right now? The report breaks down the 2025 share, right?
It does, and North America currently holds the biggest slice of the pie.
Oh, big.
Over 40% of global revenue in 2025. That's estimated at USD 168.880 million.
Okay, nearly 1.6 billion, and its growth rate.
The projected HEAG AGR for North America is 6.1% between 2025 and 2033. Solid growth.
And within North America, I assume the US is the giant.
By far. The U.S. market alone is projected at USD 137.78 million for 2025. That's a 5.9% CAGR.
Okay. What about Canada and Mexico?
Canada's next, around USD 188.26 million, but with a slightly higher projected CAGR of 6.9%. And Mexico at about USD 142.76 million with a 6.6% CAGR.
And the reason for North America's dominance, is it just the advanced healthcare system?
Not a huge part of it, yeah. The well-established advanced infrastructure, high healthcare spending, early adoption of new tech, it all contributes.
Makes sense. Okay, what about Europe? How does it stack up?
Europe's also a major player. Holds over 30% of the global revenue. Market size in 2025, roughly USD 129.60 million.
Over 1.2 billion. And its growth outlook?
Projected CAGR for Europe is actually a bit higher than North America at 6.6% for that 2025 to 2033 period.
Interesting. Which countries are key markets within Europe?
Well, Germany has a large market, but USD 243.46 million with a strong 6.8% CAGR. They have a really strong med tech base there.
Right.
The UK is also significant, around USD 206.57 million, and notably a higher CGR projection at 7.4%. The report links that partly to rising neurovascular cases there.
Okay. Any other standout?
France is substantial, USD 113.12 million, though a slightly lower TGR at 5.8%. And Russia actually has a considerable market too, about USD 190.59 million with a 5.6% CAGR.
So Europe's definitely a powerhouse market as well, maybe growing slightly faster overall than North America.
Seems that way, yes.
Okay, so North America and Europe are the big two right now, but I think the report pointed somewhere else for the fastest growth.
Absolutely. That would be Asia Pacific, APAC.
Right. What's their share now, and what's the growth projection?
So APAC holds around 23% of the global revenue in 2025. That's about USD 117.60 million, just over a billion.
Okay. Still significant.
But here's the kicker. The projected CGR from 2025 to 2033 is a whopping 10.3%.
Wow. Double digits. That's significantly higher than North America or Europe.
By a long shot. It's clearly the region pegged for the most rapid expansion. If you're looking at future opportunities, APAC seems critical.
What's driving that incredible growth there? Is it uniform across the region?
It's fueled by several things: rising healthcare expenditure, improving infrastructure, growing awareness, and increasing adoption of advanced procedures. And no, it's not uniform.
Yeah.
India actually shows the highest projected CGR within APAC at 12.2%, reaching about USD 101.76 million. Big driver there is the uptake of minimally invasive procedures.
12%. Incredible. Where else is growth?
Southeast Asia as a block is also growing fast, 11.1% CDGR, market size USD 67.16 million. Singapore is strong too, 10.6% CGR. Taiwan and the rest of APAC combined, around 10.1%.
What about the giants like China?
China's huge, of course. Market size USD 427.39 million, so the largest chunk of the APAC total. Its CGR is projected at 9.8%, still very high, driven by massive infrastructure investments.
Okay. And places like Australia, South Korea, Japan?
All showing strong growth too. Australia at 9.6%, VGR, South Korea 9.4%, Japan 8.8%. Japan's market is sizable too, around USD 140.43 million. So yeah, broad-based, rapid growth across APAC.
That really paints a picture of where the momentum is shifting. Okay, briefly, what about the other regions, South America?
South America accounts for just over 5% of global revenue in 2025, about USD 161.12 million. But its projected CGR is strong, 8.3%.
Decent growth. Any particular countries?
Argentina CGR is projected at 9.2%, Brazil at 8.9%. Expanding healthcare access and rising disease prevalence seem to be factors there.
Okay. And the Middle East?
Middle East holds around 2% of the revenue, USD 169.6 a year million, but look at the CGR 8.9%. Quite robust.
Really? Where's that coming from?
Strong growth projected in Turkey, 9.5% CAGR, the UAE 9.4%, Saudi Arabia 9.2%. Significant healthcare investments happening there. Qatar is also growing at 8.4%.
Interesting. And finally, Africa.
Africa currently has the smallest share, about 1%. That's USD 93.28 million in 2025. The CAGR is projected at 7.9%.
Still respectable growth, though. Any highlights?
South Africa shows promise, with a projected 8.8% CAGR, making up about USD 32.83 million of that total. Infrastructure is still developing in many parts of the continent, but the potential is there.
That's a fantastic global overview. It really shows how varied the market landscape is.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. Let's talk segmentation. How does the market break down by, say, the type of catheter?
Right. So by type, embolization catheters are expected to hold the largest share.
Why is that?
Mainly because they're so widely used in treating common conditions like brain aneurysms and certain types of strokes. They're used to, block off blood flow.
Okay, makes sense given the drivers we talked about. Which type is growing fastest, though? That would be microcatheters. They're designed for those really tiny, intricate blood vessels.
Ah, for precision work.
Exactly. And with the rise of minimally invasive approaches needing that kind of precision, their use is growing rapidly.
Okay. And what about the components within the catheters? What's dominant there?
Catheter liners hold the largest share by component. That's the inner layer.
Why is that so critical?
It's crucial for smooth navigation. Needs to be very low friction so the catheter can slide easily through blood vessels without causing damage. Vital for safety and effectiveness.
Got it. And the fastest growing component segment?
That appears to be the nylon tubing PBAC segment. These materials offer a great combination of flexibility.
Right, for navigating turns.
And strength, or pushability, to actually advance the catheter. So manufacturers are increasingly using them.
Okay. Now let's look at why these catheters are used, the applications. Which condition represents the largest market share currently?
That would be the treatment of brain aneurysms.
Again, ties back to prevalence.
Exactly. Rising incidence globally, plus more people getting treated with minimally invasive techniques like coiling or flow diversion, which use these catheters.
And the fastest growing application area?
That's embolic stroke treatment.
Stroke again.
Yes. Sadly, the number of strokes is increasing worldwide. And these catheters are critical for procedures like thrombectomy, physically removing the clot to restore blood flow. Speed and effectiveness are key there.
Yeah, for anyone who's seen the impact of stroke, any progress in treatment is just incredibly vital.
Absolutely. It's a major area of focus.
Okay, last segmentation piece. End users. Where are these procedures happening? Hospitals seem obvious.
Yes, hospitals definitely hold the largest market share currently. They have the infrastructure, the specialized staff, the intensive care units often needed.
Right, they handle the volume and complexity.
Exactly. But they aren't the fastest growing segment.
Oh.
Ambulatory Surgical Centers, or ASCs.
Interesting.
Oh.
Why the shift towards ASCs?
Several reasons. For certain, maybe less complex neurovascular procedures, ASCs can offer advantages like potentially shorter recovery times, lower costs compared to a hospital stay, and sometimes a lower risk of hospital-acquired infections. Patients often prefer the convenience, too. So we're seeing more procedures migrating to that outpatient setting where appropriate.
That's a significant trend. Okay, no market analysis is complete without looking at the companies involved. What's the competitive landscape like? Crowded? Concentrated?
It's described as highly competitive. You've got a mix, big global players and smaller, more specialized regional companies all vying for position.
Who are the dominant names mentioned?
The report highlights Medtronic, Nordson Corporation, Stryker, and Terumo Corporation as key dominant players.
Okay, the usual suspects in medtech often. What makes them dominant?
Generally, they have broad product portfolios covering various neurovascular needs, extensive global sales and distribution networks, and crucially, a strong R&D focus. They invest heavily in innovation.
So they compete on technology and reach.
Definitely. Developing the next generation of catheters, improving outcomes, but also expanding into those high-growth geographic markets we talked about, like APAC.
And the report mentions some recent activity, product launches or approvals.
Yes, a couple of examples. Johnson & Johnson MedTech launched a new system, the Cereglide 92 catheter system, back in February 2025.
Okay.
And in late 2023 December, a company called Perfuse got FDA clearance for their millipede catheters, which are specifically for aspiration in ischemic stroke treatment.
So yeah, clearly ongoing innovation and competition driving the market forward.
Absolutely. It's a very dynamic space.
Okay, let's maybe try and wrap this up. Let's recap the big takeaways from this deep dive.
I think the main point is clear. This neurovascular catheter market is already substantial globally.
Yeah, over $4 billion now.
And it's poised for really significant growth over the next, say, 8 to 10 years. We're talking potentially hitting over $7.6 billion by 2033.
And the key forces behind that are, one, the unfortunate rise in neurovascular diseases.
Strokes, aneurysms, yeah.
And two, the ongoing shift towards and improvement in minimally invasive techniques that rely on these catheters.
Yeah, exactly. Those two forces are powerful. And regionally, while North America and Europe are the current leaders, all eyes are on Asia-Pacific for the fastest growth rate.
Yeah, that 10.3% COGR in APAC really stands out. For me, the kind of aha moment is seeing that convergence you mentioned.
The rising need in meeting the improving tech.
Yes. It's not just one thing pushing the market. It's this powerful combination creating a really dynamic environment, pushing innovation in materials, design, everything.
That's a great summary. And that innovation cycle is key. Better materials like biodegradable ones, drug coatings, integration with AI and robotics. It's all part of that dynamic.
So why does this matter to you, our listener? Well, understanding this market gives you a window into broader healthcare trends.
Right, where medical device innovation is heading.
And potentially, areas of opportunity or investment within the healthcare sector, but maybe more personally.
For you, this growth and innovation ultimately translate into potentially better, safer, and more effective treatment options becoming available if you or someone you know faces a neurovascular issue down the road.
That's the bottom line, really. It highlights the ongoing need for these advanced solutions and the opportunities that come from tackling these major health challenges.
Well said.
Okay, so to leave you with something to think about, we touched on AI and robotics starting to integrate into these procedures. Here's a thought. Given that increasing role of AI, how might it fundamentally reshape not just what these catheters can do, but also the actual skills and expertise that neurointerventionalists and their teams will need in the future?
That's a really interesting question. Will it augment their skills? Change the required training?
Exactly. Something to ponder as this technology continues to evolve. Thanks for diving deep with us today.